as the Grammarian report.
She can do it from her chair.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for a wonderful meeting. For the use of obfuscate, Peter Ash, Rob Kanzer, and Al Davis did a wonderful job of incorporating this into their speeches or their what they said. For adding in alternative words such as or you know. Kai had a few ums. Harvey had a so, an Peter Ash had an and Richard McDonough had a you know and a Overall, we had a wonderful meeting, and I look forward to seeing everyone next week.
Thank you.
So nice, you.
Mary Alice is sick, and Mahesh has agreed to be the new timer. Thank you so much, Mahesh.
Yeah, so as a timer, my role is to remind speakers on how much time they spent on their speech and how much time they have before they should finish their speech. Just to give an example, suppose if the range of your speech is 1 to 2 minutes, so at the end of the first minute, I'll show the green card. Then after, at the mid time between that range, that is 1 minute and 30 seconds, I'll show this yellow card. And at the end of your range, that is 2 minutes, I'll show this red card. And after I show the red card, you get grace time of 30 seconds. So after that grace time is over, I'll show the stop now card, after which everybody is supposed to stop. So that's how the timer works. Today's timer report, I think all of us are on time, except for Rich for the evaluation. And one question I have, which I'll seek an answer later for, is that how should we measure the time that is spent in between, which is not mentioned over here, and how can we control that? So that's something that I really need an input for. So that's for later. So thank you, everyone. Good meeting.
Next is our general evaluation, and please welcome Peter Fordham. And Peter wrote about holidays. Holidays are family, friends, and fun, but always too short.
So I'm also going to go without the, I'll just talk. So we have several different ways of doing a general evaluation. One way is to evaluate the evaluators, and I will do that, but depending on the time and how much I have, I will also talk about the meeting as a whole. So let me start with the evaluations. Let me start with Harvey and Peter Ash. I thought Harvey gave a very good speech. One of his goals was not to use notes, and he didn't. And that is one thing that I think we could have mentioned. I think that was a big achievement, I think, for you, and something I think you were very excited about, and really was a goal, and you did it, which was terrific. One of the objectives was really to tell a compelling story and have us, something we enjoyed, which I think we all did. I mean, it was a very interesting story. I think, Peter, what you said about it being related anecdotes, I was kind of struggling a little bit with the organization and where it was headed. But when you talked about it being related anecdotes, I went, aha, I think I get it now. It was related anecdotes. Now, one thing Peter did, which I really liked, was he talked about the title. Because I also struggled with the title. As you were talking, I was trying to link it back to bleeding fish in a shark tank, and I'm still struggling to do that. And offering some alternative titles I thought was a really good idea, and I thought you did a terrific job of doing that. The one thing I also would mention, I thought the ending was very abrupt. You ended with, and gee, I could go down to spring training and get tickets, but it had nothing to do at all with the bleeding fish in the shark tank. So often at least what I try to do is come sort of full circle and link back. And that's one thing you could do is link, number one, link to the to the title, but also circle back at the end to that. And I think that was something I think would have been helpful. Now, in terms of Rich and Rob, I think Rich also did a very nice job. The goal of Rob was to tell a compelling story, health-related story, and educate us. He did all those things, and Rich talked about a number of things he raised, ulcers and acid reflux, and he also brought in body language and vocal variety and pauses and that sort of thing. I think he did a very good job. It's always very hard to evaluate Rob because he's such a good speaker. The suggestions I have are, number one, your notes. You forgot to bring your notes up. That would have been helpful, I think. Is Rich not here?
He had to leave early.
Had to leave. Okay, so you should have brought his notes up at the time, and he didn't. I also thought it was very important to note, it seemed like a very different Rob. I mean, the Rob we're used to is kind of very, energetic, very, just Rob is Rob. I mean, he's very hard to describe. You're so energetic and do so many things that are, and does such a good job at that it was interesting to me to note. This, to me, seemed like a much more subdued Rob, focused on a personal health problem where clearly you struggled with it. And I thought it was important to note what a very good job you did. By the way, Nexium is something that got my daughter very sick. We had to get her off very quickly. So that hit home personally. Looking at the yellow time, let me just mention a few things. Broadly, we did have a delayed start of 1 to 2 minutes. I thought Rob's sprints around the table, I loved it. It brought energy. Julie, from the grammarian standpoint, you talked about the role of the word, but you didn't talk about the ums and the ahs at the beginning in terms of describing the role. I like the word of the day, obfuscate. It was a word that I think is a nice word that a lot of people don't know. I like Brendan's linking the table topics to the holidays, which was the focus of today. Now, I think on table topics, aren't we supposed to end at 12:38?
12:42.
12:42. So we did do that.
It was
Okay,
pretty
so I
much
did
right
get it.
there.
Okay. And it says stop now, so I will stop now.
It was right there.